Greek Apocalypse of Baruch. The Greek Apocalypse of Baruch, also known as 3 Baruk, is another apocryphal text that narrates the visions attributed to Baruk, the scribe of Jeremiah. Unlike the Syriac version, this apocalypse takes a more allegorical approach, focusing on a heavenly journey in which Baruch witnesses the wonders of heaven and the fate of souls. The Greek Apocalypse of Baruch was likely composed around the 2nd century AD, during a period when Gnostic and Hellenistic ideas were heavily influenced by Platonic philosophy. Unlike other apocalypses that focus on historical and political events, this text adopts a more mystical and speculative approach. It reflects a concern for the soul's fate after death and explores the various spheres of heaven and hell, linking it more closely to Hellenistic philosophical ideas about the afterlife. The use of Greek as the language of the text suggests that it was intended for a Hellenistic Jewish or Christian audience familiar with Greek philosophical ideas. Instead of focusing on the fall of Jerusalem and Israel's redemption, as in the Syriac Apocalypse of Baruch, this apocalypse emphasizes Baruch's vision of the afterlife and the different levels of heaven and the punishment of the wicked. At its core, the Greek Apocalypse of Baruch is a narrative of a celestial journey. Baruch is led by an angel through the various spheres of heaven, where he witnesses the splendors of paradise and the torments of hell. As his journey progresses, Baruch encounters the souls of the righteous, who have been rewarded for their faithfulness, as well as the wicked, who are suffering punishment for their sins. Baruch's journey through heaven symbolizes the process of salvation and condemnation, where the human soul is judged after death. This theme of reward and punishment in the afterlife is central to the text, reflecting a common concern in apocalyptic literature about the ultimate fate of souls. The text also describes the various heavenly spheres as realms where angels govern and protect the righteous. In one of the most significant visions, Baruch witnesses how the angels record human actions, which will be used in the final judgment to determine their eternal fate. Unlike the Syriac Apocalypse of Baruch, this apocalypse is clearly influenced by Hellenistic and Gnostic thought. The focus on the celestial journey and the different spheres of heaven reflects the influence of Platonic ideas about the nature of the soul and its fate after death. In Platonic philosophy, the soul ascends through different levels of existence to ultimately unite with the divine, and this idea is mirrored in Baruch's journey through the celestial spheres. Additionally, the text reflects Gnostic ideas, where knowledge, gnosis, is key to salvation. Baruch, by witnessing the mysteries of heaven and the final judgment, acquires knowledge that allows him to understand the final fate of souls and the justice of God. In this sense, the apocalypse presents a worldview where spiritual knowledge is essential for salvation. The Greek Apocalypse of Baruch offers a detailed depiction of the final judgment and the punishment of the wicked. Throughout his journey, Baruch witnesses the souls of the wicked being punished for their sins. These punishments include both physical and spiritual torments, reflecting contemporary ideas about hell as a place of eternal suffering. The final judgment is described as a process in which each person's actions are recorded by the angels and used to determine their eternal fate. This concept of divine judgment based on a person's deeds is a common theme in apocalyptic literature, but the Greek Apocalypse of Baruch develops it with a more detailed focus on the judgment process and the punishment of the wicked. The Greek Apocalypse of Baruch reflects a theology where the afterlife and the soul's destiny are the primary concerns. Unlike other apocalypses that focus on historical or political events, this text takes a more individualistic perspective, centered on the fate of each soul after death. Baruch's vision of heaven and hell serves as a reminder of divine justice and the importance of living a righteous life to receive the reward in the afterlife. The emphasis on knowledge as the key to salvation also reflects Gnostic influences in the text. For Baruch, his celestial journey not only provides him with a vision of the mysteries of heaven but also allows him to acquire the knowledge necessary to understand God's plan for humanity. The Greek Apocalypse of Baruch has been less influential than other versions of Baruch's apocalypse, but it remains an important text within apocalyptic tradition. Its focus on the celestial journey and the fate of souls has been studied by scholars interested in the intersection between Jewish apocalyptic thought and Hellenistic and Gnostic philosophical ideas. The text is also relevant to studies on the development of ideas about heaven and hell in Jewish and Christian thought. Although it was not accepted into the biblical canon, its description of the final judgment and the punishment of the wicked has had a lasting influence on traditions concerning the afterlife, particularly in the development of Christian doctrines about hell and salvation. Thank you for watching our video. Subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. Give it a like, comment your thoughts, and share this video with your friends and family.